fun. You're worried about where he's at. Where is he playing at? Where is he with? Where did he go? He won't stay in here in the booth with me, and then and all the while, then you get him a tablet. And, to me, it was like biggest mistake in the world, because it's like, I felt like where I was trying to spend a connection with him, I drew us apart. But for him, he loved it because he wants his tablet and he plays his video games and he's all happy.
Well, I think there's something to be learned from that. I am an app game player, so
yes, you love.
I am. I mean, I'm a game player. I've always been, and since apps. Anyway, before that, it was game systems. But there's something that we can learn from app games. I haven't dug into it deep, but there's a way of, and I mean the positive end of this, not the negative part. But how do we create that addiction? How do we feed that adrenaline rush that people are going to experience? And I think that there are ways that we can do that at a racetrack. Right. I think we can combine technology. I think that, can we back up and talk about marketing for just a moment? Sure. So in marketing today, there are three things that go with marketing, and it is branding, authenticity, and story. And so branding, I think that's pretty... honestly, that's a whole another podcast where you talk about branding, but authenticity, being real, and then story. Like, what is a story? And I think that's something we're missing now, is the human aspect of racing, because, and that's really why I just tried to jump in and have the driver stories and do something interesting with that, because when you're a fan in the stands, and I think that's who gets lost in all of this so many times, is that fan in the stands. There's this really endemic, the people that are involved in racing, like that they know it. Like, I was able to go to a race. Why I was able to come back to racing is I just felt that I was just part of that culture. It wasn't foreign to me. But if it is your first time at the races, what are we doing? We need to treat every single event as though, and design it for a first-time fan.
Right.
So how are they going to connect? We need to, if we can connect them with the stories of the drivers out there.
Absolutely.
Then we'll create something that's real, and that they'll be invested in that person's story. They'll want to be part of that. I think the best story that I can tell you is that this last year, we were up in Pennsylvania at Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania Motor Speedway, PPMS.
Imperial, PA, yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Miley's
place. Matt Miley. And we were there for the Bill Hendra Memorial, and for the Rush Racing Series, and of course the Lucas Oil, the Pittsburgher 100 was there too.
Yep.
What meant me the most to me was that we did a race where FK Rod Ends Maria came in and paid the purse for a race that would the only people who could be in that race were guys that had never won a feature race before.
Yeah, y'all were talking about that the other night.
And it had about 16 cars. It was one heck of a race. It was clean. But the really meaningful part was at the end. And when that driver won, and he's a big guy, he was a former UFC fighter, Chuck Medved, and this guy's about in tears. He's in tears in the victory lane. Alex actually got to hand him his trophy, and then he's got his 4-year-old son. And it wasn't late. I mean, the kid's just 4, so the kid was crashed out in mom's arm.
Right.
And so we're not talking about this was a well-run event. And when he looked at his son and he poked at him and he said, "We did it. That you told me all week, Daddy, we're going to win this race." That was the race that they were going for.
Yeah.
And even right now, I mean, it's bringing tears to my eyes. I will always be a fan of Chuck Medved, because I got to be there for that story and be there for his first win. That's something I can connect with. I mean, I'm connected with it so emotionally that it brings tears to my eyes now.
And speaking of Chuck Medved, you also we were going into the subject of your favorite drivers, and then we kind of got off subject.
You got off subject. Yeah.
Well, I ad-libbed on the qualifying because you said World Finals and you said Donnie Schatz, and then I just kind of had that bing. Well, what's your thoughts of Thursday night qualified? So, what's your for that?
But you had asked me who my favorite drivers are.
And why?
And so here we are, we're at World Finals, and it's so freaking cold. It's got to be like 20 degrees or something. I mean, you can see your breath. We're like huddled up in blankets on these aluminum bleachers. And, dirt track at Charlotte is a nice facility. But we're up there, and we're just cold as hell, all hell. And the sprint cars come out, and I don't know any of these guys because I'm not really... I'm not like a fan that watches results. That's just not my thing. Yeah. But I'm watching this race, and this guy, I don't know if he spun out or whatever, but anyway, gets put to the back. And to me, it's just like cars going around in a circle. But all of a sudden, this guy that got put to the back, he's just winding through the traffic. And he's picking off one by one by one. And he gets closer and closer to the front. And I look at the person next to me and I was like, who is that guy? I was like, and they're like, well, that's Donnie Schatz. I said, well, he might be the biggest asshole in the world, but right now, I'm a Donnie Schatz fan. Yeah. And then a year later, maybe a year and a half later, I actually went and bought one of his tank tops at his souvenir trailer, and he signed it for me, and he's a really nice guy. But to me, like, that was a competitor. That was a warrior. Would I have been impressed if he led from flag to flag? Hell no. We wouldn't be telling this story.
And your favorite late model driver?
I know it's polarizing, but I'm going with Scott Bloomquist because I was watching a race at Eldora, and I watched the race where he was like halfway through the race, which I think is bullshit in the first place. But halfway through the race, they pull him over into the infield, and they're like, "Dude, you have your window net? Yeah, we've decided that it's not legal." I mean, he'd been running it all week. It's not like how could they possibly be surprised if you're going to make a rule on it? I mean, make a rule on it. Exactly. But halfway through the race, they pull him to the inside field and go, "Oh, you've got a piece of illegal equipment," which is bullshit. And then they put him to the back.
And she said that twice in 20 seconds.
I did, because it's that much. I'm going to say for a third time, it's bullshit. This whole change in rules in the middle of the game, bullshit. 4. There you go. But anyway, I watched him wind all the way through traffic and win that race. And I was like, that's incredible. But, unfortunately, it's really it's sad to see it at those highest levels of racing where the change in the rules. But I know I've had some customers this week that have called me. I've got one customer who said, hey, I'm trying to, this is my first year going into this class. I'm calling the track. I'm asking about can I run this like E85 fuel? And they were like, yeah, no problem. Guy's got a carburetor on order. He's got a couple of drums. And then out of nowhere, some jackleg from that track decides that they're just going to not allow E85. The tech guy didn't even know about it. I mean, it's just like, what I'd like to see is if you're going to run a business, well, I'm just going to say, if you're going to run a business, run a business.
Right.
I don't know. I've seen daycares. You'd have 5-year-olds that could take care of shit better than this kind of crap.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I didn't go to Milton, Florida. There was a tire change that was made at the 3 days before race, and I just said, I'm not going to name names. I just said, hey, buddy, congratulations, promoter. You probably just lost half your field because you change a rule before 72 hours before a race. You're hurting yourself. And it's like they don't realize, Kate, that's what they're doing. They're hurting themselves.
Well, I think
whether you're getting a kickback or you're going to get a bonus from Hoosier or Goodyear or American Racer or whoever, or a tire or fuel company, shot company.
Well, I'm all about monetizing. If you're in business, you need to monetize what you're doing. I mean, we're in business to make money.
Right.
I have no problems with that at all. What I just have no respect for that type of action. I also don't have any respect for bad tech. Because as far as I'm concerned, I am anti-cheating, 100%. I'm anti-cheating. But at the same time, if you don't tech it, it's not a rule. So the example I like to give is if you're driving down the highway and you're going 55 miles an hour and all of a sudden you see a sign that says, hey, speed limit 55, speed not checked at all, no tickets given for the next 5 miles. Are you going 55?
Hell no!
Hell no, you're not going 55.
Going 85, 95.
Because if you
Quit
don't...
time!
Wow. Because if you don't tech it, it's not a rule. So I don't have any respect if you're going to make a rule and not tech it.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to make a rule, tech it, but then based on who it is, decide then that maybe it's like the promoter's cousin's uncle or I don't even know. I mean, we live in the South, so
anything's possible.
I don't know. I just made something up, but anyway, if it's like, oh well, their dad gives a lot of money to the track, or that's my cousin's nephew, or if you're going to make special treatment for people to allow them to cheat, then I don't have any respect, and you are really hurting the sport.
Yeah,
that's what hurts the sport. Somebody asked me the other day. They just asked yesterday from our deal. They asked, well, hey, what do you think about crate engines with not requiring the bolts? I was like, I am not in favor of it.
Not a fan at all.
I'm not a fan. If you're going to have a crate engine, or you're not going to have a crate engine. If you want to do an open class,
Right.
just do an open class.
Yes.
But don't bastardize it and call it a crate class. That guy's bullshit. Bullshit.
Alexandrin.
Oh God, this is getting harder and harder to. I mean,
Well, it's ladies first, you know.
it is. I know. It definitely is.
I'm passionate.
But
Yeah, she is.
But I love it though.
Oh,
I
yeah,
knew this was
absolutely.
going to be good.
And
All the
that's-
things.
Now you
were
now
going
you
to be good.
now you see where I've gotten all my my information and knowledge that I have now.
I see, yes. You're going to be a firecracker, man.
Oh
Juice
God, I'm
box.
ready for it. Oh yeah.
Juice box, Alex Henry.
Yes,
Real
sir.
quickly, Alex, talk about your story of juice boxes and where we just kind of sat around last Sunday night. and came
Yeah,
up with
that was
nickname.
like you
Definitely.
said. That was over
And I think it's
Bloody
going to be a
Mary.
great idea too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's starting to come around to me. You know. Yeah, we're sitting here and it was actually by a complete accident. You know, just wasn't intentional at all. But the name Juice Box came up, and I'm like, oh well, that's really relatable to me because, I mean, not a lot of people know it, but I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I was diagnosed when I was 11 years old. And I'm 21 now, and it's been a part of my life for a long time. So I mean, I've gotten used to it, obviously, but it just goes to show, like, I just want everybody. I can't stress this enough. Like, it doesn't matter if you have an illness, disease, whatever. Don't let that stop you from doing what you want to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I thought, well, like I said, I was diagnosed when I was 11, and when I was 13, that's when I really wanted to get into the racing stuff. But I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this now because it's going to prevent me from. I gotta like check my sugar all the time. I gotta take shots after I eat. It's not gonna work. I'm not gonna be able to get in a race car. And but I was like, no, I mean, I can't let that stop me from doing what I want to do. Like I've grown up around racing my entire life, and that's just what I had set in my mind. Like, I'm going to be a race car driver, and that's, you know, I'm living out my dream now. Over the past few months, it's just, like I said, big snowball effect going on, and now, thankfully, with all the opportunities I have, I'm going to be able to do what I want to do.
That's awesome.
And I would
Kate.
say, can you explain? I know what it is, but and a lot of people don't. I didn't know until I met you what type 1 diabetes was.
Oh yeah, well, obviously there's type 1 and there's type 2.
Right.
Type 1 is juvenile diabetes. It's your pancreas does not work. So you need to have injections after you eat and all that. And type 2 is basically your pancreas works, but it's based off of eating habits. So if you have bad eating habits, your pancreas isn't gonna produce as much insulin as it should. But with that's usually you can get out of that. You can
Yeah, because you can have diabetes, but you can
Yeah.
overcome it. I mean,
You can't-
Yeah.
Yeah.
With type 2,
With-
with type 1.
Right.
type 1. I've got it.
Have it. Gotcha.
It's
So
set.
it's basically something you will have for
I
the
mean-
rest of your life, basically.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, there's a lot of medical stuff out there that really helps as far as, like, you know, insulin pumps to keep from, you know, having to give yourself needles all the time. There's constant glucose meters that, you know, like constantly read your blood sugars and all that, so you know exactly where you're at all times. But yeah, I'm really hoping for some sort of a cure per se, but I don't really see that happening just because of the amount of money that's involved with
Right.
diabetes. But that would definitely be nice. If I have to travel overseas to get it, I will definitely do it. Because, I mean, like I said, I'm used to it, but it's definitely a burden.
So Juice Box.
Yes.
Tell us about what Juice Box and what that means to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Juice box. Yeah, that was my thing when I was younger. Quickest way if my blood sugar dropped and it was really low, quickest thing for me was to go into the fridge and grab a juice box and just down it. And then that would get me back up.
Yep. And now you can be Juice Box,
And now
Alex
I can.
Hendren.
Apparel coming soon.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do some Juice Box apparel. And we've already talked about, you know, how can we make your racing experience positive, not just for you, but for others. And we haven't decided on the exact percentage or anything, but tell us what we kind of have in mind.
As far as...
Like for your apparel line and donating some of the proceeds.
Okay, yeah. Well, when I was in the hospital for when I was diagnosed, I was at Mission Children's, and I definitely, with